All right, welcome everybody. So we're having once again our continuing education, class. And this is a very special evening for me because we're talking of a topic that actually brought me into the essential oil world. And it's something that I've been studying for about a decade. And it's a topic that I'm absolutely passionate about. And well, it keeps coming back into my life. So it's something that I know we can help so many lives by helping them understand how much nature has to give us so we can live a more balanced life. So this is part of a larger project, our continuing education program. And we're following the Live Guide from doTERRA, which is kind of like the doTERRA lifestyle. You can see it here in this QR code, and you can also download this ebook if you would like to. Many of our customers receive it in printed as well. And we're helping people understand health from a foundational way. And every single month, we come over here and we teach about lifestyle tips and also how essential oils and supplements can help you to live our best life by really building like foundations in your health, right? So for the ones that don't know me yet, my name is Isadora Caporali. And 6 years ago, I started working with doTERRA, and nowadays I'm a co-founder of an amazing community with incredible women. I'm going to show the pictures of them in just a little bit here. I am originally from Brazil, and I've been living in the Netherlands now for almost 16 years. So it's kind of like my home here as well. I'm a mom of 2 boys. So I have Joshua, who's 3, and Luca, who's 2. And I also have a background in studying NLP, life coaching. So I'm very interested in how the mind functions. How do people build resilience, overcome trauma, create different patterns, both in their brain and chemical reactions into their body? And just a very short, history behind what I'm going to be saying here. At the age of 24 years old, I had my first burnout. And in that experience, I had multiple panic attacks, anxiety attacks, and I started to shift my life a little bit, but not enough. When I was 26 years old, 2 years later, I had my second burnout. So when life gives you kind of like this wake-up calls, that's when you understand you really need to change things. And I would say nowadays that it was the starting of a massive transformational journey in my life. I became much more mindful, much more conscious. And this is also when essential oils came into my life, was in the recovering process of that second burnout. And the last year, I had learned a great deal of what I'm teaching with you here today, because I am so happy to be married to a beautiful Dutchman. And he's here. And he's been working for the Dutch military for the past 24 years, and he has a heart made of gold. But he had been dealing in the past years with a lot of PTSD, which is a traumatic response to past experiences. And we had the experience of really diving into what is trauma response, what is recovery, and how can the essential oils support in that. We're on the other end of the curve right now. We're in the end of the curve that we can actually host a masterclass about it. And it's really beautiful to see with Caro right next to me how it is possible that you change any form of trauma patterns into your life, and you can make a really beautiful experience out of it afterwards when you're out. What I am teaching from you today comes from this personal experience, from my study, but also from a collective of more than 40 other women that we work with into the Next Step community. And these are really health conscious women who are coming together and sharing insights and lessons about how you can live healthier. I am sharing here with you what I learned, but also what they taught me. So I hope that I can represent all of them here tonight as well and honor their teachings and the lessons that I got from them. So what is the base of this foundational health that we've been speaking about, right? Today, we're going to be talking very specifically about how to manage stress. But before we get started, I want to remember you that your health has kind of like pillars. And it all starts with nutrition, digestion, movement, and your metabolism, and then from managing stress. And everything is kind of like connected. It's a holistic view. But when you try to manage stress and you don't have your foundational digestion, nutrition, and movement kind of like in place, it can make managing stress 10 times harder. And at the same time, when you have this foundational place well worked through, it can speed up things much more often. So we also have an entire playlist on the previous calls that we did on these topics. And I would strongly advise you, if you're dealing with stress as one of the main issues of your life, please do not ignore these other two foundations and start with them. But what is today's intention very specifically in this topic? I want to be talking to you very briefly. What is the central nervous system? How this regulation looks like and how can this affect your life? What are the signs so you can really like start noticing in your life, hey, is this present in my life or in the ones around me, yes or no? I'm going to be teaching you how aromatherapy can influence emotion and also influence the regulation of the central nervous system, the do's and don'ts, so you know exactly where you have to focus, what it is to avoid when you're working with the essential oils. And we're going to go over my favorite essential oils for the central nervous system. And feel free to take any pictures, whatever you want from this slide. It's going to be available on YouTube, but you can also just click now if you want to save on anything here. So let's get started with the central nervous system, right? And I want to guide you into kind of like a journey into how your primitive brain works. And I know that we live in this very modern society, but actually we have a brain that is like thousands of years old, hundreds of thousands years old. And our brain is still functioning in the cave days ways. This sounds hard to believe, but it's actually like how we're wired to be. And awareness is an excellent place to start so you understand what happens in the unconscious primitive brain, so you can get an insight of what's actually happening inside of you in a day-to-day basis. So we have the brain, and the brain is a receptor of whatever is happening outside of your environment. So let's say that you are in the jungle and a lion comes on you, and the brain receives a signal, a sensory perception of the environment. The brain, the amygdala in specific, sends a signal in the forms of transmitters to the spinal cord, yeah? And this signal tells your whole body to either fly, go away, to either fight, kill the lion, or to freeze, pretend you don't exist. And there is another one, which is like to be so nice that the lion is not going to want to eat you, something like this. And that is done through all the neurons in your brain who are like carrying signals. They are the messengers, okay? They help you process through senses whatever is happening on your environment, and then sends message to what it is that you should do, what it is that you should say, how it is that you should react, yeah? And that creates automatic responses. These are the reflexes. So it's things that you do without thinking, just by like, we can call them intuition, but it's actually just response. It's just like, this happens, I run. This happens, I freeze. This happens, I fight. We're not thinking about it. It's not through the conscious awareness part of our brain. And then after we've been through this kind of like survival mechanism, which is very important, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. We need it. We come into a phase of homeostasis. And homeostasis is when your body goes back to kind of like being okay. It's when we make sense of what happens and we transform it through synapses in kind of like a lesson. We transform it as a lesson. So I learn, how do I survive in this world out there? Yeah, like how do I make sure that I can survive, that I can eat, that I can reproduce, and finally that I can be happy? And just to give you an overview on like priorities into the body's always giving priority to survival, and then to digestion, and then to reproduction, and then to happiness. So a lot of times when people are trying to work on happiness or hormones, I tell them, let's go two steps back. Because we actually need to work in the survival mechanism and make sure that your central nervous system is relaxed enough. It's understanding that the world is not such a dangerous place, so that you can relax, so that you can trust, so that you can feel safe, so that everything else can happen in your life. Yeah. And we have a very important element here, which are like your neurotransmitters. And your neurotransmitters are kind of like hormones, we can call them this way, but they're the messengers. And we have like the cortisol is a message to run. We have the adrenaline is a message to fight. We have, for example, serotonin is a messenger to react. And the way that we understand how these messengers are kind of like ruling the show is a very important part, so that we can intentionally, with essential oils, with lifestyle, choose what kind of neurotransmitters we want to have more of in our bodies. Give me a thumbs up if everything makes sense so far. Yeah? Okay, amazing. And all of this that the central nervous system is creating is to generate resilience. And resilience, it's our ability to tolerate stress and go back into something that we call a window of tolerance. And this is a really beautiful picture of how this works. So window of tolerance is kind of like a level of stress where we can learn from the lessons. Lion comes. It escalates. I feel threatened. Lion is coming on my face. I feel unsafe. How quickly am I able to come back into my window of tolerance and say, I am calm enough to learn what I need to do when facing this lion? This is what this is about. Yeah. We're always going to be having ebbs and flows when it comes to our cortisol and when it comes to our adrenaline. That's just how our bodies were meant to be wired. However, resilience is your inner capacity to go back to the window of tolerance. And what defines how easily can you be in this window of tolerance? It usually comes back into childhood. When you're a child who don't know how safe or how unsafe the world is, and your parents have the kind of like a role of teaching you that even when you are hyper aroused, even when something is very unsafe, you can still learn something and feel safe. But if you didn't have these role models, it's really easy to escalate into unsafety or freezing. Oh, okay, perfect. Somebody just put it a message here, but that's perfectly okay, Rael. When we track our hormones through the day, you're gonna see that they go up and down. So like, for example, when we wake up, cortisol quicks really high, adrenaline as well, and we need that so we can start the day. But then, for example, if from rushing, you open your phone and you check a message, and then you go on Instagram and you feel like you're not doing enough, and then something screams, and then you have to run, and then you're gonna be too late. You see like you're escalating arousal. If you wake up and you naturally have a kick of cortisol and adrenaline, and you say, let me take 5 minutes to breathe, you go down. And you bring your central nervous system into that window of tolerance by intention. Or you wake up and then you say, I don't want to be awake, I want to stay in bed. Boom, then you go into freeze mode. Yeah. So it's really the ability of bringing your body into that safe homeostasis. However, not many of us know how to stay within this window of intolerance. Not because we're broken, because we're not. Nobody is broken. You're perfect. You're whole. Even if you might have a dysregulated nervous system, even if you might be on trauma, you're not broken. But the dysregulation shows in different ways in the body, and this is not wrong. These are signals. Consequences are just signals. And you have physical consequences and you have emotional consequences. So physically, when you feel exhausted, when you feel like you're easily shocked, like the smallest thing happened and you're like easily shocked, when you feel like your eyesight is like this, you know, you have like the laser focus vision that's like high adrenaline, high cortisol makes this. Or for example, when you feel restless often, like you sit and then like shaking your legs and you're shaking your arms, right? Or when you feel numb, when you just feel like, I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. It's also an amazing sign. You often can see it on people's skin. So this regulation often looks pale. It's that kind of like unsafe survival mode. You can also see it on the skin. And you might feel an increase or decrease in heart rate. And this often leads to sleeping problems, short-term memory loss, and it creates kind of like a cyclic effect. Because you're like this, you go into more arousal when you go into more stress. So it kind of like is a downward spiral. But also emotionally, some things might happen. People who are dysregulated often feel confused, they feel sad, they might feel anxiety, numbness. I mean, this was a typical scenario 2 years ago with when Corona was happening, right? A lot of people are coming out of this situation because this became a little bit of a society chronic problem. But it's often a way to dissociate, right? To check out, go shopping, obsessively on social media. It's also ways to dissociate. And feeling confused, feeling like you're stuck in life, or being stuck in life because you cannot conceptualize a way to grow and to thrive, and etc. And often you create a very negative self or world belief. You notice that you're saying negative things about yourself and you're saying negative things about the world. What is it that you're seeing out there and in yourself is a hint how safe you feel. So this is not about toxic positivity. This is about being aware. What is it that you're seeing and what is it that this is telling about, how your nervous system is. And then it creates different trauma responses, right? Dysregulation that occurs over a consistent period of time creates trauma responses. And the interesting thing of trauma responses is that we all have a little bit of it. You know, it's normal. It's not something negative. And my invitation to you is, when you look into these more 4 common trauma responses, check in with yourself. Where do I find myself most often in? When I feel unsafe, what is it that I most often do? And it's usually one of 2 of them that you feel kind of like mostly connected to. It's kind of like the pathway in your brain that your brain has done so often that when the triggers happen, this is usually where you're gonna go first. You know, for example, for me, it has always been fighting or flighting. I've always played within this field most of the times in my life. And I can see that whenever I'm in an unsafe feeling, I'm going to go into any of them. So these are the 4 Fs: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And they bring kind of like different traits. So when you're fighting mode, you feel like anger, you're bullying, you're intimidating, you're just kind of like feisty, right? You're judging, and you can be harming yourself and others. And interesting that I put it here, what can happen in families is that there is like a coping mechanism that they can often become like the hero. Or flighting, right? You can flight through just avoidance or feeling panicky, or you can become a workaholic, dive into work, a perfectionist, OCD, constantly like in your head, so you don't have to deal with the world around you, right? You might become the clown, so you joke about it all. You joke about it all not to have to face how it is that you really feel. Freezing is when you feel like it's all so much that I just check out. I check out. I become numb. I feel stuck. I shut down. Exhaustion often follows here in freeze mode. You feel exhausted because you're storing all this energy in your body. There's nowhere that this energy can go. And then you can become kind of like the black sheep, you know, the one that is just like not going anywhere. Fawning is adjusting. That's a very interesting one because it's like the obsessive people pleasing. When you lack boundaries, when you're like in codependent relationships, often feeling overwhelmed, and there is an identity confusion. What is mine and what is of another one? You kind of like take a lot of things from the other. You become this obsessive helper. And these are ways that we naturally go to, nothing wrong with them, until they are standing in your way. And then nature is so perfect that created beautiful essential oils that can help us change those brain patterns. So if the freeze mode is a brain pattern that you did it often enough, essential oils can bring an information to change brain patterns and create other ones. This is like what we call neuroplasticity. So in this beautiful image, you can see like there's a bottle of adaptive. We're going to talk about the oils in a bit. And essential oils are like chemical compounds. And chemical compounds, they carry certain information, they're codes. So when you inhale an essential oil from the bottle, from your hand, doesn't matter what, your olfactory bulb, which is a receptor in your brain right here, catches this information, like it's right here. You see, it catches the information and it sends to your limbic system. Your limbic system is connected to what? The amygdala. That one that we saw it on the first slide, where it all begins, the amygdala that sends the signal of responses to the environment. So now instead of the amygdala receiving the information, the world is dangerous, there is a lion, run, the amygdala is receiving an information, the world is safe, you can relax now. and it's sending through neurotransmitters. You know, we also spoke about the role of neurotransmitters. It's sending your body to make oxytocin, serotonin. All those relaxing hormones that we actually aim to have are being sent by signal by your limbic system when you're inhaling the essential oils, and that changes the synapses. I just heard today, like neurons that fire together while wire together. So you can basically train your brain through consistent use of essential oils and specific essential oils that have that effect in the brain. You can train your brain to work in a different way. If you had 30 years of stress response to a situation, you can, with intention and consciousness and working in all the parts of your body that actually affect your central nervous system, like food that we talk about, right? Nutrition is also very important. Movement. So, you know, your body's moving the energy inside of you. You can change the way your brain is wired. But there are some really important do's and don'ts when doing that. So, for example, one big do, I strongly advise follow protocols designed for your needs. What doesn't work, which is a don't, is like one day you're stressed and you get your wild orange and you're like, I'm calm now. No, doesn't work. Doesn't work. If you really want to work with nervous system regulation, you need to get a protocol and stick to it. I'm going to give you a few in a bit. It's usually 3, ideally 6 months for you to actually see a result that you're rewiring something. And consistency here is key. So your brain is used to send something in the environment and immediately release cortisol. You're going to need to send the message many, many times to the brain to not release cortisol, but to trust, to feel safe and to feel relaxed. So that pathway is walked often enough. Imagine that your brain is a jungle. You need to walk that path often enough so that your neurons actually trust to go without it. My tip is to always expose yourself 3+ times a day to the oils. You know, you don't even need to put them on your skin or anything. You can literally just smell it like this, but the repetition is essential. Every 2 hours, the kind of like amount of essential oil code in your brain will drop. This is proved scientifically. So if you want to maintain that code at optimal level, you can like inhale every 2 hours, for example, but you don't have to. But 3 times, you're going to have the most optimal results. For me, it's really a powerful thing to use essential oils with an intention. That's what we call aromatic anchoring. Some of you have done a wellness consult with me, already familiar with this. Some of you aren't. I use my NLP training to anchor a certain state in my customers so that their brain is like in complete relaxation. And then we bring the oil. And then I say, and now save that. Install that code. And you can do this at home. Put a meditation, guide yourself into a place that you actually want to feel, get the oil, inhale, and save the code. Send the message to our brain. Whenever I smell this aroma, I am going to go back to this state right here and now. Very powerful to do that. And it happens naturally with senses. So you might as well just, add this practice that happens already in your brain. My tip is to always take kind of like mindful moments in the application. And this is because the breath in itself is one of the best regulators of the central nervous system. So just like when you're in fight or flight, you're not breathing deeply. Belly breathing only happens when you're in relaxation. So if you combine the oil, the anchoring, and the belly breathing, you're stacking healing tools. Let's put it in this way. And it's very important to work on all levels, right? So what I say also here, like it's not a magic pill. You cannot expect to use essential oils if you're not doing the other works, if you're not like including moments in your life of physical activity, going for slow walks, maybe, if you go to the gym, lifting light weights. You don't need to push your body. You don't need more cortisol. You don't need more adrenaline. You need less. You need to relax. You need to go for a walk. You maybe need a restorative yoga. And if you stack that, for example, with doing therapy, right? Combined with other types of therapies. In our house, I think we have, I don't know, like 5 or 6 therapists. We have a therapy for everything. It works. All these tools, they are mutually supportive and not mutually exclusive. And be patient in the process. It takes usually 6 months to actually feel a change when you're working with central nervous system. Don't expect quick results because they usually don't come. Your brain is wired from so many years of working in this way. You really need to be consistent and patient in the process so that you're slowly gonna see it showing up. And ownership in the journey. It all depends on you. It all depends on you. So if when you were a child, depending on you having the parents who would give you that safety right now, you're the only one who can give that safety to yourself. So go back to that child and take ownership of helping that child, her, understand that the world is safe. And the oils can be a nice added tool to support her in her journey. Yeah. Another thing is that if your first protocol doesn't really work, don't give up. Everybody's different. I'm going to give protocols here, but what works for one might not work for another one. Stay consistent until you find one that is really going to work for you. And I tell out of my personal experience this. Never make a decision based on price. Usually the best oils are not the cheapest, because they are more complex. You know, oils like frankincense, sandalwood are incredibly complex and incredibly powerful to help your brain. So make sure that price is not a decision here, but what you need really is. Never overuse. So as I said, like 3 times is enough, and you can like inhale from the bottle, but don't apply oils on your hands every 15 minutes or something. That's overusing. We don't do that. The maximum advice is 10 essential oil drops of the same oil per day, and that's only like for a short period of time, for a month or so. For the rest, 2, 3, 6 drops are absolutely enough. And don't use oils that are not pure, because it's the chemical compound that makes the magic. It's the pure coat that makes the magic. It's not how it smells. It's the chemical composition that's inside of it. So what are my favorites? Let's dive into them. Kopa is probably my all-time favorite. I'm going to talk about it in the next slides. And then we have a few blends here. Blends is a combination of different plants come together for a same purpose, balance. Balance is a combination of flowers and trees, and it's a grounding oil. And I want you to imagine balance being able to bring the steadiness of the trees with the softness of the flowers. And gives you a backbone, but it at the same time opens your heart. Beautiful blend to stay in yourself, to land in your body, to stop procrastinating. Serenity, it's a combination of, for example, lavender, which is an amazing oil to calm. It also has been proven in scientific studies that lavender can replace some antidepressives. Sometimes it's a possibility. With vetiver, which is like a root, lands you here in this vessel. Ylang ylang, which is an essential oil used to connect with your inner child, and Roman chamomile with spiritual purpose. So combine all of these in Serenity to understand what it does in the chemistry of your body. We have citrus bliss, which is like a bunch of citrus oils with a touch of vanilla. It's a combination of joy, lust for life, playfulness, abundance. All of these intentions are in citrus bliss. And then adaptive was a blend that doTERRA developed specifically for feelings of depression, anxiety, overwhelmed. It was doTERRA's intention of giving people an alternative, a natural alternative to antidepressants. And adaptive has lavender, which helps you relax and speak your truth, communicating from a calming manner. It has wild orange for joy and abundance. It has rosemary, which supports transition. Spearmint, which helps you speak your truth. Kopa, which is a calming oil, calming and relaxing the central nervous system. And magnolia, which helps to overcome anger and rage. And imagine this bundle put in an oil. I love adaptive. It has been in my life in very crucial moments. And then we also have a few supplements, right? So for example, I said I wouldn't speak about the Kopa because we also have it in the soft gel form. And a soft gel basically means 3 drops of essential oils in a capsule that you can drink it. So it's just how you want to take it. Kopa is sustainably sourced from Brazil. These trees, they grow in the Amazon. They're just there. They're in the middle of the forest. People walk to them and extract copaiba. They influence the CB2 receptor. So for the ones that are not familiar, CB2 receptors are very important in the brain to be bringing feelings of calming, relaxation, reducing pain, anti-inflammatories. And the copaiba is an endocannabinoid. And this is all part of a system in our body that is very important to regulate mood and emotion and motivation and etc. So it's kind of like similar to CBD, but it has none of the side effects that the CBD can have. Incredible oil to chill out. Basically, I use copaiba every day because I can be a little bit fiery. And then the Terra Serenity soft gels, it's made with some essential oils and a bunch of plants and herbs. And I love using them together, the oils and the herbs. I think they make a really beautiful combination. And Serenity capsule and Serenity oil, I would advise mostly to sleep. Okay, don't take it in the day. But if you have sleep problems, if your anxiety is high and you don't have an easy time falling asleep, you can add these. And we're going to talk about sleep next month as well. So we can jump more into it as well. And then besides the selection that I put it for you, we also have the Essential Aromatics Kit. And this is when doTERRA looked into, some might say the chakras, or other might say like an emotional wheel. What is it that people might experience and how can we help them with? And it created the selection of the 6 oils. And they also come in the touch form. So if you want something more intense, this is amazing. I use Passion as my perfume. But if you want something just, Carol's showing this right here. But if you want something just nice and easy to apply, the rollers are absolutely amazing. I strongly advise you getting the whole kit. It's nice to have them at home. And here says kind of like the intentions and the emotions that you can work with them. Passion to activate kind of like your passion for life, your goal. Forgive is a beautiful healer of the heart. It works a lot with forgiving yourself and others. Console is beautiful when people feel lost. They lost somebody. There's no meaning in life. Peace is a very grounding one as well, like helping you to feel safe in yourself. And cheer and motivate are beautiful oils to just uplift your mood. And I have made for you a few protocols for you to understand more or less how this could look like. I still believe that protocols are better done like person by person, but we have an amazing tool that makes protocols for you as well. I use them for myself, they work. And here is a list of protocols if you want to take a picture. So when you see in protocols, I always use different oils. And I also always use different forms of applications. And the reason why, for me, essential oils are like cooking. You can cook only with salt, but we can cook with salt, pepper, and curry, and it kind of gets better. Not too much, but just enough for you to have kind of like a nice, juicy meal. And they also going to bring different aspects of your brain and of your body. So it's beautiful to do this kind of like bundle. I love taking copaiba on the sublingual, and sublingual basically is here. Yeah, it's a very easy way to access your brain, where this oil makes one of the best effects. When it comes to emotions, I love applying on the palm of the hands, rubbing, taking 5 deep inhales with the hands like this, and then massaging neck, massaging lower back, and massaging the feet. Those are my favorite ways. It doesn't have to be this way, but it can be this way, an effective way. And then there's also an opportunity to dive deeper into it. If you're already our customers, you're familiar with this. If not yet, I'm just going to quickly introduce. We have different ebooks that you can dive into emotions, female cycle, because a lot of times central nervous system regulation and hormonal balance are interconnected, and mindfulness. So you can insert mindfulness practices in your life as well. We have classes recordings. We have a virtual assistant that you can ask questions anytime, and also table of delusion. If you have sensitive skin, you want to follow this with the table of delusion. Okay, sensitive skin, we always dilute. And I just invite you to try out all these resources. There's so much that you can find in here already to go in your own journey. Take ownership. And for all of our customers, my favorite way of buying is through our loyalty rewards program. So this is our monthly orders program. And I am really a big fan everywhere that I can. First, because I love the practicality that I just have something shipped to me every single month. I have a bunch of like subscriptions that I really adore. And second, because you just accumulate a lot of points that are like miles. I love like just getting a new ticket with KLM miles, and with doTERRA, you can get beautiful essential oils with this mile system as well, with this point system. And you get always a minimum of 10%, and you can build up to 30%. This is where I am right now. So it means that every month, if I order $100, I get $30 back in free products. Epic. And a foundation for this, I advise it to be our supplement line. Like we have a lifelong vitality program, which is going to be working on your gut health, on nutrition. Remember that I said basic basis of everything. And you can always add essential oils to it as well. You can make it how you want every single month. So it's a very flexible program and something that I advise everybody to take a look into. And for the ones who are watching this, who are not our customers yet, this is how you can start today. You choose your kit. It can either be a ready kit of doTERRA, or you can choose the oils that we have selected to you here. And then you create your doTERRA account in the name of the person who brought you here, who sent you this link. And when you have that, you receive our support, you receive all our books, our ebooks, our lessons, our WhatsApp group. There are so many ways for you to be accessing the knowledge of our community. I'm absolutely in love with it. And what's next? Next month, we're going to be talking about sleep. So this is what we saw this month, right? We saw emotional balance. We spoke about these oils, and we're going to be diving about sleep, restful practices, and we're going to have a bunch of tips on how you can actually create really good protocols that work for sleep. Like I can tell I've been putting anybody to sleep lately just because by using the good protocols with the oils. And also just practices that you can include in your lifestyle that are going to be improving your sleep as well. And if you feel aligned with this and you feel like, I would love to share about this with other people, you're welcome to share. And you're also welcome to build an income and be part of our community. There are different ways and levels that you can get involved. You choose whatever suits for you. So you just let us know what feels in alignment with you, and we're going to be more than happy to guide you through what are the steps that you can take so you can, make your doTERRA journey with us. Nice. I would love to know if there are any questions so far. No questions? Okay, perfect. Let me pause the recording then.